The lesson isn't always necessarily in the success. The lesson is in the failure.
And welcome to another episode of the Scar Tissue Podcast. Guys, believe it or not, this is my 28th take at trying to get this introduction right. The reason why is because I can't do it justice. Not because of me, not that I do anything special in the episode. It's a guy who I interview. He goes by the name of Steve Sims. You may or may not have heard of him, but by the end of the episode, I guarantee you're going to be Googling him and trying to buy his book and everything else. Because you're going to learn a lot today. So I'm going to give you two pieces of advice. It's the only thing I can really do to set this up. Two pieces of advice. The first one is to grab a notepad and a pen. What you learn today might even change your life. The second piece of advice is to keep your kids away if you have any around you, because we swear throughout the whole thing. So with that said, sit down, settle down, and enjoy the show with Steve Sims. Where do we begin? How do you introduce a man like Steve Sims? This is what I was thinking about before. You make miracles happen for the rich. You've been described as a modern day Wizard of Oz, but I see you as the pinnacle legitimate hustler. If there was anyone when I was younger, even today, that I could swap my life and career with, it's you. You've been able to turn hustling into a legitimate, exciting world of business. So for those who don't know, Steve, can you explain what that means? What do you do and what is blue fishing?
Wow, what do I do? Well, I'm the guy that spends rich people's money. Affluent, powerful people from around the world, they come to me to do what they didn't think was possible. So I'm the ultimate bucket list achiever. I've closed down museums for dinner parties. I had a client that wanted to get married in the Vatican by the Pope. I put people on stages with our favorite rock stars, sent them down to the Titanic. Had them, doing unarmed combat with Navy SEALs, played drums with Guns N' Roses. Anything that you can think of, they come to me to do it. Blue fishing meant nothing. It was literally a word to get into a club once, many, many years ago, and it ended up becoming something. And then I remember one client one day just turned around and said, "Oh, yeah, I blue fished the crap out of that." And we were like, well, that's funny, use it as an adjective now. So that's when the whole kind of like, are you going to blue fish this or are you going to run it as norm, you know? And, are you a blue fisher? And this kind of cheesy tongue-in-cheek thing kind of grew. And then the book Blue Fishing, The Art of Making Things Happen, I suppose just cemented it in the dictionary now.
I've started to use blue fishing in my own vernacular when I'm talking to people about how they can use nothing to make something. So how they can open up doors, how they can get yeses, how you can really just be opportunistic in the right, positive, conscious way.
I think sadly, just to extend on that, you called me a hustler. I take that with pride. I'm a hustler. If something needs to be done, then I'm doing it. And that's what hustlers do. I do not look at it as a bad word whatsoever. Lazy is a bad word. Hustler is not. But for me, blue fishing is a mentality. Right. It's an attitude. Right. And it's that attitude and mentality that while everyone is stood there going, that can't happen for me, that won't work for me, I could never do that. The blue fishers there going, why can't that happen for me? Why won't it work for me? And almost expect it to happen. And that mentality will, with the appropriate passion, knock down any wall. And you'll be amazed that when you twist it from a why can't I have that, instead of I can't have that, to a why can't I have that, that mentality shift will 9 times out of 10 bring you what you worked for.
Yeah, no, I love that. There's a saying I heard the other day. People always tell you to change the way you think, but what is thinking? And all thinking is answering questions you ask yourself, right? So if you want to change the way you think, you got to ask yourself a different question. So if the questions you're running in your head is always, why is my life like this, or whatever it is, if you change the question, as you just said, to, well, why can't I have those things? Why can't I lose weight? Or why can't I earn that sort of money? Or why can't I be there? Just by changing that question is how, and the way you're answering that question is how you're going to change the way you think. I come from a steel worker town, and most of my childhood friends are in the blue collar industry and tradies and stuff like that. And I remember it was about 3 days ago, I was telling a mate who called me up from one of my old childhood friends. He called me up and I told him about you and that you're going to be on the podcast and what sort of things that you do and you make these extraordinary things happen. And he goes, well, that sounds like the best fucking job in the world. But I suppose you can have a company like that and you can do those sort of things when you're born into money and you have those celebrity connections. But your story doesn't start like that, does it? How does it start?
Hell no. I was a bricklayer. I was a bricklayer from just outside of London. I left school at the age of 15. I had one lay-in after school. The next day, my dad woke me up at 5 o'clock and he went, right, you're working on the building site. So that was my life. And my uncles were on it. My cousins were on it. So I just felt as though my entire life was going to be slopping around bricks and getting smacked and cut up in rainy England. But I just couldn't tolerate it. Most entrepreneurs are aggravated and agitated, and they need to find where they best fit. And so as an aggravated young man, I did my fair bit of kind of like, going down the wrong path and, just trying to find out where I fit. Where is my path? Who should I speak to? Who should be my friend? I knew things that weren't right. More than I knew things that were. So I went searching and I suddenly found that I had an ability to de-elephantize things. And I noticed that people, and I was ignorant, and here was one of my secret sources. I was ignorant. A lot of people now, they go, oh, I couldn't do that because of this and this and that. They've got all of this intelligence that tells them they can't do it. I was ignorant. So for me, it wasn't a case of I can't do it because. It was a case of, well, why can't I do that? Right. Surely you just do this and then you do that. And I failed a ton of times, but, very, very rarely. Like I'll ask you, have you got any tattoos?
Mate, no.
You haven't got a tattoo? Okay. I got a few tattoos.
I'm a good Italian Australian boy. We're not allowed to.
Good lad. Well, okay. Let me put it this way. Let me ask. Okay, I'll ask you a question. Sure. Exact same result and answer is going to come out. But have you ever had a bad visit to the dentist to remove like a wisdom tooth or something like that?
Most definitely.
Right. Did you enjoy that moment in the dentist getting that bad dental treatment?
I hated it.
Can you actually remember the pain you were in?
No, I remember.
No, because as human beings, we actually can't recall pain. We know we've had pain. We know we've broken bones. We know we've had, and that's why I was using the example of a tattoo. You get that needle on you and it hurts the buggery. And while you're sat there, you're thinking to yourself, why mercy to God am I doing this? Right. And then 2 weeks later, you go, well, that looks cool. I'll get the other arm done. And you forget. And it's the exact same thing with a dentist. You go and you know you don't like it, but you can't actually recall the exact feeling. Now, as entrepreneurs, we fail a lot. We fail often. We know we learn from them, but we can't actually feel the pain. We can't recall what it was like to get the no. And then you become immune to it. And it's the worst thing that's ever going to happen to you in your life is someone saying no. Well, Jesus, you should be trying everything fast and hard 24/7. So for me, I failed a lot until I started to fail less. And you can hold on. You actually remember when something's happened good in your life, when you've won an award at school or you've resulted in the final kick of the game and it's all down to you and you won that game. You can remember that pride. You can remember that excitement. You can remember that euphoria of seeing your girlfriend. You can remember all of those positive things. As humans, we're not dialed in to remember the negatives. Right. So with that, it's a get out of jail free card. Don't worry about failing because you ain't going to remember what it feels like, but you will remember the feeling of positivity and winning. So every time you get successful, you forget the 1,000 times it took you to get to that point.
What about learning? Because one thing you said is on the topic of failure. One of the things you say in your book is for every failure you're learning, be proud of your scars.
It's an education. I've often, I don't know what the system's like in Australia. I know in England it's different, and now I'm living here in Los Angeles. But in Los Angeles, I've got kids. It seems to be from the age of them being born to 25 years old, there's some educational base that you're paying for. Yeah. So you have to pay for education, private school, high school, college, university, even a bloody driving lesson to drive a car. Okay. You're used to paying to be educated. So when you try something and it fails and you lose money at it, you lose a relationship, you lose face, you lose faith. All of those things are the costs of education. So when you fail at something, just go, okay, I just learned how not to do something. I just became educated in that field of how that doesn't work. Mm. And very, very, very rarely, and I'll be honest with you and say only the stupids do, very rarely do you ever trip over the same stone twice. Right. Because experience always comes 3 seconds after you needed it most. And that's what those failings are doing. It's giving you that prosperity. It's giving you that education. You pay to go to college to become smarter. You just did a contract. You lost 10 grand on that contract. Wow. I just become smart enough to write my own contracts. You write your own contracts. Guess what? You ain't losing that 10 grand ever again.
Right.
So I'm a great believer in be proud of your failings.
What are you looking for when you fail? What are you looking for so you understand the lesson?
Exactly that. I'm doing exactly what you're on a video now and you're rubbing your lips and you're thinking. I do exactly the same. And I fail a lot. I surround myself with some phenomenal failures. Elon Musk's rocket now goes up, comes back, and lands vertically on a platform, doesn't it? Yeah. How many times did it not?
Yeah, it blew up more than it's gone up.
Bingo! It's failed more times than it's worked, but now it's a success. Can you remember how many times it failed? No, but you can remember the first time it stood upright. Yeah. Okay? So I surround myself with serial failures. So I try hard, things go wrong, and I sit back and I go, where did that go wrong? Where did that go south? Why did that happen? Why did that client that I was trying to deal with, where did that not go? And it could be I shouldn't have been dealing with the client in the first place. It could be that I hadn't managed the client's expectations. It could be I got cocky and thought that I could get what I wanted to get without doing my usual communicative process. I try to shortcut it, There could be all of these things that happen. You go, yeah, now I was good up until chapter 3. I got rocky in chapter 4, fell on my ass on chapter 5, and it went down from there on. So what should I have done? I should have nailed this at chapter 4. Right. And you literally process it in your head like that, and you can sit there and go, that's right. You know when you watch a movie and it's a good movie, sadly there's not a lot of them around, but it's a good movie, and you get to the end and there's that twist. Yeah. And you go, whoa, I did not see that coming. Yeah. And then you go, that's why they were there. And that's why, and you get to see the crumbs, don't you?
Yeah, all the pieces kind of fit and make sense now.
There you go. But you couldn't see it while it was happening. And you get to the end and you go, oh my, like a good mystery movie. You go, that's how they did it. I know. I wondered why that was it. And you can do that. You need to do that with your failings so that the next time you can go, oh, I'm about to do that. Side step to the left, one step forward, boom. Yeah. I have just got over that puddle. And then it's a home run. And then you go, yep. And you need to rejoice in the failings. My dad, big, thick Irish guy, he said to me many, many years ago, and all my education comes from quips and quotes. And he said to me, and it was very funny because I was about 15 years at the time, and it took about 10 years before I understood what the bloody hell he was on about. But he turned around and he said to me, no one ever drowned by falling in the water. they drowned by staying there. He didn't talk to me prior to saying that. He didn't talk to me post saying that. He literally just walked up to me, stuck my hand on my shoulder, said this and wandered off. And as a 15-year-old, I'm stood there going, what the bloody hell was that about? And it took 10 years later, but I realized, and I do it with my kids now, when you fall down, that's fine. I ain't helping you up. Get up yourself. You choose to stay down there. Many people fall over and they go, oh, my world's just come crashing down. Look, we've all been through it. We've all been in those moments where you go, shit, I've just bet my life on this deal and it's gone south. I'm broke. This is going to go wrong. That's going to go wrong. Hey, wallow in the self-pity, okay? Wallow in it. If you need to, milk it, fine. But then for Christ's sake, stand up and step out of it, because there is nothing more empowering than getting back up once you've got knocked down. And anyone that's out there that's ever done skateboarding, push bikes, running, sports, boxing. I remember, I used to do boxing and kickboxing and stuff. And you go in there and this guy punches you in the head and you go, well, hang on a minute. It's not like the movies. I haven't gone suddenly hurtling through the glass. I can actually survive. In fact, all my teeth are still in my mouth. Yeah. Was that it? Yeah. And you actually find that you do that more than once and you become empowered to almost an invincibility complex.
Yeah, no, I think it's in using the same analogy of boxing or kickboxing. I've done a bunch of martial arts. I suppose it's a lot of the time, especially before when you're just getting started, it's the fear of the anticipation. It's not so much once you're in there, the reality hits you. Go, that's not so bad. And just as you said, the more and more you do it, the more and more your resilience to confrontation builds up. And then when you're outside of the ring, it just seems to, this is just my experience with it, it kind of just seems to translate to everything else. I feel more comfortable in confrontational situations because you realize, as you said, if I can take that and still keep standing or get back up, then what else can I do? So,
have you ever been to, I'm enjoying this chat. Yeah. I hope anyone else that's listening to it is, but if they're not, I don't really care because we're having a good chill.
Exactly right.
But I remember, and you may have had this as well. Yeah. You'll be in a room. I go to a lot of seminars. I get to speak at a lot of seminars. I go to a lot of events. And you can see there'll be 10 speakers. You only need one of them to say one thing for you to come out of that room devilishly more smart than when you walked in. And I learned, as I say, stuff from quips and quotes. I mentioned that earlier. I remember being about 18 years old, and I'm sitting in the movies with my wife, well, my girlfriend at the time, and I watched this movie. And it was a great movie, one of the best movies ever. You'll know the one I'm talking about in a minute. And I'm watching it, and all of a sudden, the main character says something. And we've all been in this situation when we're in a seminar or when you're in a bad relationship and there's a line from a tune on the radio and you just go, that's talking to me. It's that immediate connection. I remember at the age of 18 watching this movie and the character turns around and says, fear causes hesitation, and hesitation will cause your worst fears to come true. And I was sat there watching the movie. It hit me so hard that I missed the next few moments of the movie because I was like, oh my God, yeah. When you kind of like in the moment and then you go stationary, bang, that's where most shit happens. It's in that quiet zone. The movie and the guy saying it was Bo Decipher and the movie was Point Break. The original one, not the shit-ass remake that they've done. But the original one really caught me. And I realized from then on, most people are scared of fear. And they won't try something for the fear of what? 9 times out of 10, what people are scared of is never as bad as what they think. Now, the guy out there go, well, I'm scared of getting a crocodile bite. Yeah, that's going to hurt like shit if you still got your arm left. That's not scared. That's bloody intelligence. Yeah. But most people, they are so scared of fear itself. Another great paralyzer is actually humiliation. The more powerful and successful you get, people are actually fighting to be laughed at. and humiliated. And it's amazing. A lot of people, especially in power and success, they can handle fear and failure because they've already got credibility over everything else, but they don't want to be laughed at. And the reason I'm in business is because 9 times out of 10, these people don't want to be refused. They don't want to be turned down. They don't want humiliation. So they employ me, and I step in and go, I need this done for a very powerful person. And I get it done before I've given anything away. And then when it's done, then I get the client announced as to who it was, and then I push it through. But you'll be amazed at how many people are scared of fear and humiliation. You remove both of those and ask yourself a question. Not what could you do tomorrow if it was impossible for you to fail, but what could you do tomorrow if you had no care of someone laughing at you? Now, if you could do something tomorrow that there was no fear of you failing, it'd be like, I'd launch my new company. I'd go for, $1 million, or I'd do something like that because, hey, I can't fail. But if you're not frightened of someone laughing at you, your perception change. You may go and start doing a tango lesson. You may take up horse riding. You actually start wanting to do things that are highly enjoyable that you could try. It's a strange perception shift.
Okay, then on to that then. How did you find it when you were I'm going to skip a few years, I'm sure, in between all this sort of stuff. So you went from being a brickie, and next thing you know, you're making these meetings with the Pope, right? But when you started going into those circles, which were very different to the circles where you grew up in, did you feel the need to fit in fear of being humiliated or saying something stupid? Or because I think there's, at least from my experience, when I see people from working class backgrounds especially start breaking into different networks, different circles, they often don't know how to behave in the fear of humiliation. And you see this often, I see it anyway, a lot of this sabotage pattern of going back into where they were, or, I suppose the fear of humiliation coming. So how did you deal with that? Did you ever feel like you had to be someone else?
Do you know, you're 100% accurate. You're very sharp. I had that, but here was the dumb thing. I was 5 years into my business already, and then I had it. It was the weirdest bloody thing.
You were 5 years into doing what you were already doing, and then you started feeling like you had to be different?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you the exact story. So I started off as a bricklayer. I ended up being a doorman. From doorman, I started getting people into clubs and parties and bars and restaurants, and it grew and grew and grew. And I was always comfortable in being me. I don't speak the Queen's English. My education comes from the streets of London. I'm a big 240-pound, ugly lump of lad. Tattoos, earrings, whiskey drinking, all that. Yeah, that's me. If you like it, cool. If you don't, move along, sir. That's always been my mentality. And I would speak to people as people. I was ignorant to put in artificial praise on them. So I'd be like, hey, George, how you doing? Hey, Robbie, how you doing? And I would be talking to presidents, captains of industry, Fortune 500 people, rock stars, internet moguls. I'd be talking to anyone that had money because, quite simply, poor people I had decided very early on could not afford me. So I only went and hung around with rich people. And I was just talking to them like another Roger, Bill, Barry, Susan, whoever. And then it occurred to me about 5 years into the business, whoa, I could be so much more successful, and you're going to love this bit, if I looked the part. Now, bearing in mind, I was already living in a penthouse, doing very well. I had a Rolodex of big, important people that paid me my value.
Right.
And now I was questioning it. Now, you're right about the sabotage gene. Entrepreneurs, we like to screw things up. When things are going well, an entrepreneur will go, right, let's fuck it up now. Yeah. Let's try something new to screw this damn thing up. They will do that. And that was my moment. And I thought, I better look the part, whatever the part was. And bearing in mind, Bluefish had invented the industry of high-end concierge, and there was me trying to fit into an industry that didn't even exist. So, really daft math. But I thought to myself, right, I've got to start. I have always been on two wheels. I don't have a car. I rode motorcycles all my life. And I went out and I bought a car. and I bought suits, and I took out my earrings, and I started meeting people, started buying expensive watches. And I'd be like, hey, how you doing? Yes, because I never changed my voice. But all of a sudden, I am looking the part now. The daft thing happened. Two things happened. One, my income went up. Now, everyone's going to go, well, that's a terrible problem to have, you know? I actually started making more money. My relationships went down because I wasn't connected with these people. And how the bloody hell could I be when I wasn't even connected with myself?
Right.
So I was trying to be someone. There's a picture, and I still have the picture. In fact, one day I should post it. There's a picture of me leaning against a Ferrari in Monaco wearing a suit, okay, trying to be my best, Miami Vice, look at me, I'm all that kind of picture. It was my only few years that I owned a car. And there's this picture. And I remember seeing that picture and realizing I'm not in it. Someone else is. Right. I actually went into a 2 or 3 day bender, a very bad black spot of my life, got completely wasted, came out of it the other end, I didn't, but I had the car driven up to the garage, put it up for sale. I put all the suits in the back of my closet. I thought a suit's not going to wear me. And that's what it was doing. The suit was wearing me. I wasn't wearing the suit. Right. And I got rid of the watches, and I just went back, put all my earrings back in, started riding around on the bike. I realized then that it took zero effort to be me. And this is what happened. My money from those clients, it started to go down. My relationships started to go up. But now here's where the empowerment comes in. I now had more focus because I had been empowered to know what I was capable of, that I started magnetizing and drawing in more of the kind of clients that could resonate with me. Right. So the dip in income was about a 2 to 3 month dip before all of a sudden I started getting more and more people. Now I'm confident. It's like when you walk into a restaurant and someone says, hey, do you want to try this? You go, well, I've never tried it before. Yeah, I'll try that. And you try it and you go, that tastes like horse dung. Well, all of a sudden, you now know that. It's like these people that will go out and try and look fancy by buying a $500 bottle of wine. Mm-hmm. Sure, taste what a $500 bottle of wine tastes like, but then pick your favorite. And if it's $4.99 and even comes in a box, good for you. You now know the difference. And when you know that difference, you suddenly become empowered. I could then walk into a room going, well, hang on a minute. I used to live in this room, but I sabotaged myself for 6 months. Right. And I ostracized myself for the room that I can conquer. And then you go back and you go, all right, boys, I'm back. Yeah. I'm bigger, stronger. And again, it's like that falling down. You fall down, you bring your elbows in, your hands up to your chest, and you push yourself back up. You get back up taller. And so I had that bad time. I think a lot of people do. I tried to urge all of my consulting clients to start by getting rid of all of their associations and their looky-likeys and their fit-ins and start becoming you. You've got 100% that you can give. Don't waste any of that percentage trying to be someone who you are not.
Why do you think people feel the need to do it though, to be different?
Oh Christ, we got social networks coming out of wazoo now. If you're successful, or let's put it this way, let's play the game. You got no money, you're a college kid, all right? All of a sudden, you got 200 grand land in your pocket. What do? You go and buy yourself a Rolex. You go and buy yourself a fancy watch. Why? The Apple Watch for like $300 is going to tell time far better in any country, but you succumb to the trinkets of supposed success. And the downside is you're looking on Instagram at all of these people that you think are hugely successful, and they've got a private yacht. They've got 4 dogs. They've got a massive garden. All of these things you look at and you go, those are what's required for me to be successful. You start attaching your success to those things. Right. And if you're lucky, you suddenly get those things and you go, yeah, this didn't make me happier than when I didn't have the bloody thing. It's now actually made me poorer because I bought the damn thing. Yeah. So if you're lucky enough, you can get rid of it. But also people try to fit in. If you get a job in Wall Street or in, London in the banking industry, all of a sudden sharp suits, red ties, braces, expensive watch, all that kind of palaver. In fact, I remember when the iPhone X came out, a friend of mine told me that they were having these boutique parties in London on the night that the iPhone X came out. And the only way you could get into the party was to buy an X. Okay? Of course, all the brokers wanted to turn up in the morning and throw their phone down on their desk because they had the new iPhone X. It was another status step up. But my buddy told me the funny thing was, the following day, no one had any other phone other than the X, so it was level playing field again.
Right.
So you're trying to outdo someone, and you don't. You just can't. So I've noticed a lot of people think because of social, because of the way you're supposed to look. You go up in Silicon Valley, North California by San Francisco, everyone's running around in vans and a hoodie trying to make out that are some kind of internet mogul.
So two things that I took note of just then as well was you mentioned the social comparison of I benchmark myself based on where someone else is in their life is something that is terrible. And I get that's what makes people want to be a certain other way. And the other thing that you talked about was kind of this identity congruency of when you believe something and you're doing something else. So you believe certain values about yourself, but then you're going and buying suits which you don't like, cars which you don't drive, and you feel like shit. And I know me personally, I've been in those situations a lot, especially when I started making a bit of money. And I'm not saying I'm Elon Musk or anything, but when I started making a bit of money and taking on some bigger clients, I felt the need to always impress them and take them out to these expensive restaurants and buy them the most expensive wine. And the reality is I had never had any of that crap in my life. I didn't know what good wine was. I just looked at how much it cost and I thought, that must be good. And it was all just to impress someone else. And it wasn't until, and I can't even say I've perfected it yet, but it hasn't been until I realized that's all for show. And what matters is you and your values. If you're congruent with that, clients will attract to that, and you'll work with type of people who you want to be working with, and you won't have to put on that show. So, once again, that's just nailed it in my mind.
Yeah, you're right. You've got it. The whole point is to allow people, and this is the key thing. See, I'm not a smart dude, and we spoke about this earlier. If everyone turns right and you turn left, or even better, if everyone turns right and you're stood still, you look like a rule breaker without even doing anything. Right. Now, the simple fact is, I was never very good at email. I was never very good at any of these social platforms. So while everyone's jumping on the social platform, I'm doing this really stupid thing called phoning people up and dropping off little parcels or little letters. All of a sudden, my God, his marketing's getting through. I was refreshingly different by actually doing what everyone used to do normally. Right. You see, I am not a master communicator. Everyone else has got so bad at it, I'm actually starting to look pretty shit hot. So it's like the classic movie when everyone turns around and says, right, take one step forward if you want to be part of it, and you see everyone take one step back. Yeah. So that's me. People are going, oh, yeah, you do that. That's so extreme. No, go back 15 years. It's what everyone was doing, but you all left the party early. Right. And so I'm still doing it. And the funny thing is, still as human beings, and the more we have more social platforms, more Instagram pictures to show off how big me testes are and stuff and me yacht and stuff, while we're doing all of those kind of things to impress we still don't know who we're trying to impress, but while we're still trying to do all that, and now we're bringing in AI and Siri and Alexa and all that thing, do you know the one thing human beings are craving for is connectivity, it's resonance, it's transparency. And whoever thought the word authenticity would be a desirable term? So we need to resonate. So the bottom line of it is, the more layers you put on, you're covering the true you. Right. If you meet someone and you want to have a chat, You want to impress them, don't give them a $500 bottle of wine. I've been exactly where you are. Me and you, we're sharing a lot. I'm enjoying this because me and you have the same wavelength. Yeah. I will actually, and this is a good thing about being in LA, I'll take him around the corner to a food truck that I discovered, you know? Yeah. And I'll be sitting there with a guy that owns the entire building, sitting on the corner of the curb, drinking a Coke and eating a taco because it's just a shit hot cool taco that's cost you $12.
Yeah. I love it. No, I love it. It's is that a secret to you unlocking these doors? Is it the fact that you're, I suppose, not afraid to be yourself, you try to build connections? Like what?
I don't have, and this is, I love it. I absolutely love I love what you're doing because you're leading me up to make out as though I'm something special, and I'm absolutely freaking not. I often say to people, if a bricklayer from London can be doing this with Elton John and the Pope, you've got no excuses. Yeah. You know, that's the end of it. I don't have any secret sauce. Right. But if you, how old are you?
I'm 32.
32, right. So you're still of an era where you can remember walking down the road and talking to your buddy Billy. Yeah. You know, if we got any kids now under the age of 8, they've probably never been without some kind of mobile device or Game Boy or PlayStation, Nintendo, whatever. But we're still of an age where we can remember if you wanted to go and knock on the door and go out and play football with Johnny, you went and knocked on his door and go, can Johnny come out and play? I've never changed from that. And so here's the daft thing, and we're going back to this fear and humiliation, because so many people are scared of humiliation and fear and being rejected. It's still an emotion that most people despise. They won't make the effort to phone someone. I spoke to someone the other day, and I spoke to a client who wanted to meet someone. And I said, okay, you want to meet them? And they were like, yeah. Oh, well, okay. So give me 10 reasons why you shouldn't meet them. And they were like, well, you know, and do you know the funny thing is they can give you those 10 reasons really, really quickly. Yeah. And then you go, okay, give me one reason why you should. And they went, well, because I really want to. Jesus, there you go. Bingo. That's the only reason you care about. You really want to. So let's make it happen. It's only impossible until someone does it. So let's make that happen. Get out there. And I said, I'm going to call you in 3 days' time, and I want to know that you've reached out. And he went, absolutely. So they were all gone home. I contacted them back, and I said, what did you do? He went, oh, you know, I was really proactive. I sent them a Facebook message. I contacted their Instagram feed. I did. And I went, hang on a minute. You know where they live. You know the building they work in. Get off your chair, knock on the door, and just go, hey, it's lunchtime. I've got a sandwich. Can we chat? You know, do something like that. But he was frightened. And most people, you can ask him, when was the last time you used your cell phone to actually make, not receive, to make a call to anyone outside of your family? And most people don't do it. You know, I love making phone calls because all the time, all of the noise is on the email and on the social feeds. That phone rings, I've got your attention. When you're holding on to me on that phone, you're physically holding on to me because you're engaged in that phone call. You can hear the difference in my voice. You can hear the tone change. You can hear the enthusiasm, the passion, the annoyance, the rejection, the aggravation. There's so much going on in a phone call that you can never replicate in a tweet.
Right.
So there's no secret sauce, pal. I want everyone to realize the only reason I'm really good at something is because everyone else has got so shit.
Listen. I think you're being modest to an extent as well, though. I think you've cottoned on at an early enough age that this is my opinion, and you can take it, leave it, whatever. But it sounds like, and listening to your audio book, and I don't read that much, but I listen. You've cottoned on at an early enough age that conforming doesn't work, and standing out has its advantages. But to stand out, you need to be confident in who you are, and you can't be afraid of that rejection. So when people are using these forms, and I'll say I've done it before, and I'm very conscious of what I'm feeling as I'm doing this. I've reached out to people on that I don't know on Instagram or email or whatever. And the reason, and this is what I believe, the reason is because the fall, if you get rejected, isn't a far way down. You feel if they don't reply, that's it. Then you can make as many excuses as you want in your head. But if you were to knock on someone's door or to call someone, the feedback is in real time. You're going to know straight right then and there if you're getting a no and if you failed. And you have to deal with that. The rejection becomes very real. And that goes back to what you were saying before, that fear of rejection. And it seems like it's something that you have not just become comfortable with, but seen it as a value. And because you're so cognizant of that you're able to, and even if it's your preferred method, you're able to be attracted to these more, I suppose, confrontational forms of communication or jumping on a phone call, because you don't care about getting rejected and you actually enjoy the process of it. And because of that, you're good at it as well, right? I mean, I'm sure if you were to jump on a call with someone you've never met, and even if I was to do it, the person would want to hang up on me in 3 minutes just because I'm just not as confident in that medium now as what you are. And so that's my 2 cents on the matter anyway.
Yeah, but okay, so let's lay it out thick and clear. You would fail. You would be crap. Yeah. You would be terrible. You'd be shit until you got better. Yeah. So if you make one phone call to someone you want to talk to, high probability they're going to hang up on you. Yeah. Okay? By the 10th phone call, all of a sudden you're getting in your stride. You're getting in your tone. You're answering rejections and questions before they've asked you.
Right.
So now you're doing it. You said about martial arts, okay? When I was a young lad, I was a big fella as a kid. I was always the kid picked on at school because all the young whippersnappers that wanted to earn their stripes would pick on Big Steve, okay? Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So I didn't want to be in fights, but I was always getting in fights. And there was nothing I hated more than getting in a bloody fight, because no one comes out of it sweet. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So I started taking up kickboxing and boxing to become, quite simply, a better fighter. Yeah. So I could go back into the playground, go back in the bar, stamp into someone's head and win. Yeah. That was my thought process. Yeah. Something startling happened. After about 8 months, when I could actually, fly a kick and I could actually smack someone direct and not throw them a haymaker or whatever, I would go back into the bar, and you can see the twinkle in someone's eye when they're looking for a little bit of rowdy fun. And you'd look at them and you'd go, okay, this guy wants to dance. Okay, I'm ready. They turn around. When you're suddenly able to fight and willing to fight, people sense it and they walk away. It's the big dog syndrome.
Right.
So it's the same thing with you as you're refining your failings on the phone, and you do it again and it fails and it fails and and all of a sudden you go, oh, I got lucky now. No, you didn't. You became refined. Right. You refined your failures. I often say to people that all of my top clients are serial failures, but they don't allow the failures to define them. They allow it to refine them. And if you made 10 phone calls by your 11th out of 10 shit calls, you become actually far better on your 11th. And all of a sudden you're clicking. You're like, hey, Steve, I'm on the phone with you now. We haven't chatted in a long time. In fact, never. But you want to stay on the phone because I got something that's going to make you smile. Yeah. All of a sudden you get in and that one goes well. You're like, whoa, this is easy now. It's only easy because you got over the hump of being bad.
Wow. I'm having so many aha moments here. I can't wait for people to jump on this. I know I'm going to get some emails about this, and this is just nailing it in my mind. But just personally for me, screw if anyone else.
You're going to get emails of people going, I can't understand a word of what that bloke said.
Are you serious?
I hope this podcast had subtitles. That's true. Aussie, yeah, you'll be right.
If you think you'd be hard to understand, wait till my American audience is listening. Whenever I have that, I remember when I was in the US, not to deviate too much, I was in the US, I go pretty much every year. It was not the last time before that, I had to get a rental car, and it was one of those automatic like telephone systems. So you call up and you have to say what number you wanted and what sort of car, and it would kind of work out what you needed. and it couldn't understand what I was saying. So I had to put on an American accent. I want to drive an automatic, and so anyway, you could actually understand what the fuck I was doing.
I've been like that. I've been through. You go through the drive-through at McDonald's, and all of a sudden you got to be like John Wayne to get a burger.
Yeah. Okay. Back onto this. So what you're talking about before is a lot of your clients are very used to failure, and it becomes one of their strengths because it's just something that becomes innate with them. You make dreams happen for people. What have you learnt about people's dreams? Are there any commonalities? Do people surprise you? Do we dream big enough?
Well, they all lie, and no, we don't. See, the funny thing is, I could ask you, how much money you got in your bank account? What's your religion? When was the last time you had sex? And any of those questions may make you feel a bit nervous to answer, okay? But they're all a fact. Yep. You know, I've got X amount of dollars and 7 o'clock this morning. You know, there's an answer that's factual, okay? Yeah. But if I asked you, if I looked at you deep in your eyes and I said to you, what is the ultimate thing that you would like to do that's going to cause you to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning going, holy nads, I can't believe I did that. Now I'm getting into your soul. Now I'm getting into what makes you, you. It could be, you know, having a cup of tea with, I don't know, Mother Teresa, or kicking a football with the Pope, or jamming out with Guns N' Roses. But all of those things. And so I get these people that they sort up this idea. They've seen that I've done all these amazing things. They get me on the phone, and then it's all of a sudden, I was thinking I would like to do, you know, something kind of like, and they dilute it. Right. Why? Because for them to be in my circle, they've got to be able to afford me. So they know it ain't going to be cheap for a start. And then that thing kicks in again, the fear of humiliation. They don't want to stand there and go, I would really like to shake hands with so-and-so. And for me to go, what? Really? You know, they don't want that. Now, here's the dumb thing. I love making people's dreams come true. Some of my favorite experiences have been rooms and events that I never, ever, ever thought I would be in, purely and simply because it was them. I live vicariously through my clients' dreams. But my job is to listen to what they say, hear what they want, and give them what they didn't ask for. That's the thing. And in my book, I put in there, ask why 3 times. I'll get someone come up to me and I go, yeah, I really want to do that. And I'll be like, oh, that sounds fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant. Why is that a dream? And then they go, because of this. And they are. So why is it important to do it now? And as you start chipping away at that, and then you ask things like, is that really going to do it for you? You challenge them. Yeah. You know, now you've just started getting close into that soul. You go, look, you sound like a real cool guy. I'm enjoying this conversation, but I got to ask you, is that really going to wake you up at 2 o'clock in the morning with a holy shit, I did that? Yeah. You know, you've just given me a phenomenal story about this, how it changed your life, how you really want to meet this person, or you want to play golf with this person, or you want to sing, or you want to hang out here. That's going to do it. And they go, and I say, hang on. And then you've got to let them off the hook. Then you're going to go, look, I'm hearing you. I've listened to you, but I'm hearing what you need. So let me see if I can put something together. And that's when you take what they've told you, you've asked them a few times to drill it down a bit more, and that's when you start getting into it and you go, okay, now I'm going to play. You know, that dream is not big enough. I've never, ever, ever done something for someone that they've asked me to do. I've always gone, that sounds all right. Now let's see where I can take it. I had a client that wanted to get, do we have time for this story? You okay if I tell the story?
As long as you want.
All right. So I had this client, his parameter to me, his request was that he wanted to have an exclusive restaurant in Florence. And so in Florence, they don't really have exclusive restaurants. It's all about the whole Tuscan living. You go into a restaurant, You ask for a table of 2, don't be surprised if you're on a table of 22 and you just give them 2 chairs. By the end of the night, you've got an extended family. You know, that's the whole point of Tuscan life, you know. Pass the bread, Giuseppe. It's all that kind of stuff. This guy wanted an exclusive restaurant. So we had to give him something in his head that he wanted in an area where it didn't exist. So we created it. We actually took over the Academia Museum that houses Michelangelo's David. We shut it down at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, set up a table of 6 at the feet of the world's most iconic statue, and then halfway through dinner, we had Andrea Bocelli come in and serenade him. Now, he hadn't asked for any of that, okay? But we knew he could afford it. We knew what he wanted, and we just went, okay, balls to the wall. How high can I make it? And a lot of people, they reach for things just outside of their grasp, okay? I reach for things outside of my vision, outside of my horizon, because if I fall short, I'm still a good 100 miles further on than I would have been if I'd have just got to the edge of my fingers.
Wow. You listen, hear, and exceed. Wow, man. How did you, not to go too much, not to lose the point of the story too much, but how did you get that? So how did you make that experience happen?
Oh, well, that was really tough. I don't know if you were paying attention to earlier in the podcast, but I phoned them up. I say that slowly for the people in the cheap seats. I literally gave them a call. I phoned them up, and I've become pretty good at talking on the phone by now. Yeah. And I said to them, hey, look, you know, I've got this situation. I've done some research, and I noticed that you're actually running a gala because you're having a roof repair done, and the gala is going to be paid for. I've got something on my plate that could actually help the pair of us. Are you okay if I continue? So they're like, yes. You know, what are you thinking? Well, I know you've got this roof, and you know, I don't know the entirety of how much it's going to cost, and so you just give them a reason to keep you on the phone. There's a saying about getting your foot in the door. I don't think the tricks to get your foot in the door is to be so irresistible they don't want you to leave. Right. And so I try to give them a reason to keep me in the conversation.
So are you looking for what it is that they need?
Absolutely, every single time.
Right.
If I want to get hold of a celebrity, a recording artist, for argument's sake, a musician, the first thing I'll do is I'll look, okay, do they have an album come out? Do they have a video coming out? Do they have a movie coming out? Do they have a book coming out? Are they supporting a cause? Are they supporting a foundation? Are they maybe on the end of their celebrity period and maybe just starting to fall into the twilight years? And then I will talk to them relevant to that moment. So you can call up and you go, hey, my name's Steve Sims. I'm aware that you're about to go on tour. Okay, that's fantastic. Do you know I've got a couple of things that may actually be able to get you more promotion in that area? Oh, I believe you're supporting this foundation. I've actually got someone that may be very, very good for your foundation that can actually help donate to it. You know, Is it okay if we stay on the phone? Because I'd like to talk to you about an opportunity that I got.
How are you discovering these things? So how are you discovering that these tours are coming up, that they belong to this foundation? Is this Google search? How are you doing this?
Anybody's iPhone has more computive power than the CIA and the NSA had in the 90s. Right. All you've got to do is Google. Let's pick on someone. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Google Arnold Schwarzenegger and then go to images. And then on those images, you'll see loads of his movies and things like that. But if you keep scrolling, you'll start seeing him at charity events, at galas, at foundations. Yeah. If there's a pattern, then you can start going, okay, he's always at this equestrian gala. He's always at the Children for Need gala. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to contact them and talk to them about how I can benefit the children of need. And what I will always do is someone taught me this years ago. No one steps onto the roof. You have to climb a ladder. Okay? So the trick is now, and I'm very fortunate because of my credibility, if I want to get in touch with Arnold Schwarzenegger, I will contact someone that he values and respects, that I know, and I will get them to make the introduction. Right. So like on a podcast, you're a perfect example. If I wanted to be on another podcast and you knew these podcast people, I'd phone you up and I'd go, hey, look, you know, did we have a good time? How did it do? Did it work? Do me a favor. make an introduction. I'd like to be on their pod, and you will, and you'll contact them. So by the time I get through, I've become credible, because as they always say, if I tell you I'm brilliant, it's marketing. If your best mate tells you I'm brilliant, it's gospel.
Right. So leveraging your existing network, ideally, to be able to get a warm introduction to the person you want to get in contact with, along with identifying what it is that motivates them and they value, is how you can then propose some sort of proposition that is a win-win in this scenario.
That's 100%. You broke it down very accurately. But the key you're missing there is never walk into a conversation where they can answer with a yes or a no, unless no is the answer you want. So you never go in there and say, hey, could I rent this building?
Yeah.
Because they could go, no, I'm sorry. But if you go in there and you go, hey, what's it going to take for me to get an event held at this location? Yeah. They can't go, no, because then they sound like a moron. They're going to turn around, they're going to say something like, well, we've never actually held an event at this location before. Yeah. That's when you turn around and you go, fantastic. We're not doing an event. We're making history now.
Right. You know? Yeah. I know, I love it. Yeah, I love it. It's just like, I've just got so much material here that I'm just trying to, I'm glad this is recorded, put it this way. In your book, you talk about being driven by passion. What are you passionate about?
I think it's achievement. I think I mentioned earlier that I live vicariously through my clients. Most of the rooms and events that I'm involved in now, I would never have gone anywhere near. You know, I'm at best a Neanderthal. And so I would never be in these kind of places. But, you know, I was chatting to Elton John's people yesterday, because I've been invited to a party at Cipriani's in New York with Elton John. You know, there's no place in the planet where I would have been invited there. But, you know,
it blow your mind. Like you're
oh God, yeah.
Fuck, I'm with
yeah. Every now and then, when I did the event in Florence with Andrea Bocelli, the client turned up at 9 o'clock in the evening. Okay, I had been in there since 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, I'm sat in there with Andrea Bocelli, and we start humming because he wants to know what the sound's like. I'm at the feet of Michelangelo's David, humming a tune next to Andrea Bocelli. I joke not. All of a sudden, I came over with a cold flush, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm here. You know, how the bloody hell did this happen that I am now here? So it's very strange. It's very funny.
Oh, that's crazy, man. It's I love it. Okay, then on to that same sort of theme of question. Then people come to you to make their wishes, I suppose, come true. Kind of like I don't know, a genie in Aladdin. What do you wish for if you had a wish?
Oh, endless supply of Japanese whiskey. I am very, I'm actually, I say this to people and they go, nah, you're not. I'm incredibly dull. And I get all my shits and giggles and kicks out of obviously doing all of this stuff with my clients. But I love trying different whiskey cocktails. I like barbecuing, although my wife says I'm not good at it other than chicken. I like just playing around with the dogs. I've got 3 dogs. I like fixing motorcycles and then giving it to my mechanic friend to actually make sure it's safe going down the road. So I'm a very boring individual. You give me $50 million tomorrow, nothing's going to change. I'll still be on the podcast chilling with you. I'll still end this and then go and grab a whiskey. I'll still go and sit out on my chair tonight. You know, nothing's going to change. So I believe I'm an incredibly wealthy man because of that. I've got the same woman that I met when she was 16 and I was 17. I got 3 kids. I like 2 of them. You know, I've got dogs. I like all of them. You know, it's just, my life's just cool. I'm very happy, very content.
You don't want for anything else?
No, I don't. You know, every now and then my favorite whiskey will run out and I'll be forced to drink another one of the bottles I got, you know, and, you know, I'll jump on a motorcycle. I had my wife took the piss out of me the other day. I collect motorcycles. And so I jumped on this bike to go out for a ride and I'd forgot that I'd actually drained the tank and there was no gas in the tank. And I was like, oh shit. And she was like, It sucks to be you, doesn't it? And I had to literally just get off that bike and pick one of the others, jump on. I thought, yeah, okay, it's not a bad life, is it? You know, you don't top the tank up with gas. You just pick another motorcycle that's got gas. So it's not a bad life.
Tough life indeed.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just going to start. I'm very conscious of your time, Steve, so I don't want to take up too much more. So I'm going to wrap up with a few last questions.
Go for it.
What do you think of the word impossible?
I love it. I absolutely adore it because it makes me look brilliant when I show that it's a stupid word.
You made a business out of it.
You're damn right I did. I love it. There's nothing that makes me happier. You want dollar signs going off in your head? There's nothing happier than someone phoning me up and going, hey, Steve, I know this is impossible. I'm like, oh, here we go. And they go, you're not going to be able to do it. It's impossible to do. Of course, then I can do nothing better than just look like an absolute brilliant genius by achieving it. And then there my marketers. Do you remember, Roger, that thing that was impossible that you did last Tuesday? Go and tell 10 of your friends. And all of a sudden I got 10 billionaires as clients.
It's just, I can't believe you made a business out of hustling. It's just,
no, nor can I. I keep up. Me and my wife often joke. We're kind of like I'm 51 years old now. Been doing this for 23 years. We still think that one day the police are going to knock on my door and arrest me, and we're going to go, what for? And they're going to go, I don't know, but you're having too much fun by doing it, so something's got to be wrong.
Yeah, it's just I just remember being, if I knew that this could be a job, I remember being, a younger guy, same sort of thing. I was doing security at bars as well, but it was just flipping things all the time. It was people were coming in saying, "Can you arrange this?" And I'd organise a party for someone or a special experience at a bar.
That's exactly what I did. I remember these guys came into my club once when we were in Hong Kong, and they were 4 good-looking lads. Yeah. They had money. They walked into my club, and the guy said to me, "Oh, Steve, are you going down to the yacht party tonight?" And I was like, "Oh, which one are you talking about?" And they told me about it. I went, "Nah, I don't think I'm going to do it." I said, "Are you?" And they went, "No, we can't get in." And they went into the club. And I remember turning around to my fellow meathead, and I said to him, I went, "Give me 30 minutes." And I went down to the docks in Hong Kong, down to the harbour. Yeah. And I went up to the girl that was getting ready for the party, and I went, "Hey, how are you? I just wanted to ask you, my boys are coming over later on. I know your party starts at 9, but would you like them here at like 9:15, or would you like them here at like near 10 o'clock? What would benefit you?" And this girl was like, and the funny thing was, she starts flipping through the chart of names. I hadn't even given her the bloody names, but she was automatically doing this. And I went, "Look, I don't want to take your time up. I know you're going to be busy, but again, would you prefer like right at the beginning or like an hour in?"
Right.
And she went, 10 o'clock. And I went, "Fantastic, thank you." I said, "Look, the guys are going to come over. They're great guys. They're very, good-looking lads. They're going to make great coverage for your party. Respectfully, though, by the time they get here and the amount of people you got here, they may not adequately say thank you." And so I slipped her $500 and I said, "Thank you for your time." And she was like, "Whoa, let me just make sure I've got these names." So she writes the names down. I walk back to the club, walk into the boys, and I went, "I just made a couple of phone calls, boys, and you can go to the party if you wish." And they were like, "Really?" I went, "Yeah, $500 per person." So I made $1,500 just by going down to the harbour. So I realised then that people don't ask. They actually don't ask. So, yeah, you can do it if you ask.
Just ask. You made more money in that transaction than you would have on the night doing the door.
Well, I gave the girl $500 and I was getting $600 a week. So I had given her like a good 85% of my wages for the week. She was over the moon. Yeah. But if I had gone, because I'm walking back thinking, what if the guys have suddenly got lashed up or met a couple of girls or decided they don't want to go to the party? But I got
my $500 back.
Yeah, I got my money back. So, but yeah, it paid off.
No, I love it. You've done all this. You've done this amazing stuff. You've got this company that does ridiculous things. And I remember reading somewhere, you've been doing it for around about 20 years now. What's in the next chapter now? Are you going to keep pushing the blue fishing company? Are you going to be focusing more on the seminars and podcast stuff? Is it?
Again, I'm that aggravated, agitated entrepreneur. And like all entrepreneurs, it's never perfect. Yeah. And Bluefish has given me the excuse to travel around the world repeatedly and get into some really crazy places. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that for about the last 10 to 12 years, I've actually been working with some of the biggest award shows, fashion weeks in the planet, some of the biggest luxury brands in the world about how to market, brand, communicate with a new breed of client, how to communicate with new money, millennial money, old money, just how to change your tone, your message. I've been doing that. And so I was a big deal to a small number of people in the world. When the book came out, a lot more people have heard about me, like you, for argument's sake. So I found that now I'm doing a lot more consulting and speaking for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. I'm consulting for anything from small businesses to medium-sized businesses now on how to grow, how to scale, how to get in front of the right clients. And that is giving me the challenge I really liked. Now, in the past, I really liked the idea of getting someone married in the Vatican by the Pope. Now I really want to see how your company can scale from 10 employees at $1 million a year to 8 employees with $10 million a year. You know, that's the kind of thing I'm really looking to get into. So I'm enjoying the speaking. I'm enjoying the consulting. I'm enjoying the podcast. I'm enjoying this whole new lease. And so I'm just having a lot of fun with it.
No, I think it's great. You've kind of closing the loop. If the first chapter was all about making the wishes happen for millionaires, then I suppose now everything, but a lot of what you're doing is for the people who potentially couldn't afford to use the company you had, but more so have access to all the tools that you use to be able to build that company. So we're getting Steve for free, essentially.
Yeah, someone actually said to me the other day that I'm actually developing my own clients, because in the past I used to spend other people's money. Now I'm teaching you how to get that money. Yeah. So, and that actually is making me a bit happier, because spending someone's money and making them happy, I enjoyed. Someone making money, you're actually affecting the employees, the partners, the family, the wife, the kids. There's so many people that benefit from that fallout of a good, well-constructed business.
Yeah, teaching them how to fish.
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
And what also is good is your personality. This is kind of what we're talking about before I hit record as well. Your personality type. I think it speaks. And I can't speak for everyone, but at least I know that the people who I was 10, 12 years ago, that guy that was in the town, questioning everything, wouldn't have listened to. Not to say any names, but there's a lot of people on the circuit, the podcast circuit, that I just wouldn't listen to. It's just, they don't get me. They don't get where I'm from. They didn't get the challenges that I was facing. And so following their path wouldn't make sense. It just was like, yeah, but there was always felt like there was an excuse to why I couldn't follow their models of how they got to where they did. However, it just resonated. The story of where you're from, but not just where you're from, how you kept your identity through it to show people that there's another way. You don't have to be like person X if you want A, B, and C. You can still be yourself, and there's ways to do that. So I think being able to have a vessel and a voice for that is not just needed, but it's refreshing as well. So that's my commendation to you.
Well, thank you very much. I'll take it.
All right, last 2 questions. If you could pass on to your children no money, network, or name, what 3 beliefs or values or skills do you want to make sure they have?
Number 1 would be stop drinking shit whiskey. It's not good for you, so just don't drink the good stuff. Number 2, listen to everyone and ignore most of them. Never be frightened to listen to everyone's point of view and discard those that just don't make sense. But more than anything, I think we've touched on it before, it takes 0 effort to be you. So be you. Don't sell yourself out for anyone else's perception, belief, or excuse.
No, I love it. And if I could be you, live as you walk in your shoes over the last, let's say, 10 years, what would you tell me to watch out for?
The pitfalls. See, it's very easy to look at me walking down the white carpet with Sir Elton John, or kicking around with Richard Branson. But you don't look at the times when I was sitting there going, oh, my God, I can't afford to keep the lights on. I can't afford to pay the staff. See, everyone looks at the tip of the iceberg and goes, bloody hell, that's powerful. And they don't look at all the shit beneath it that's actually got them to that position.
Can you recall a specific time, if you're happy to talk about it, where you were, there's one of those obstacles felt insurmountable?
Oh, God, yeah. Again, it was And I'm always happy to talk about it because I never want to forget them. These are my education. These are my graduation papers. These are my diplomas and degrees. I remember signing up a contract, which I thought I was going to make a fortune, only to find out that I lost $180,000 for the contract I signed. I actually paid 180 grand to do business with someone that employed me. And I was like, it was a major award show here in Hollywood, major award show, which now I'm not even allowed to say that name for reasons of, again, another bloody lawsuit. And, they just screwed me over and ended up costing me $180,000. And I paid 180 grand for an education on what not to do. Never catch me out again on that. But for that period of time, which was probably about a good 4 to 8 months, the initial, because they want 40 grand now. And, when you get into any kind of lawsuit, that's 180 grand. Then you got to pay the lawyers. Then while you're paying for the lawyers and paying for that, you can't work because your head's not in the game. I probably lost north of $250,000 on that. And I remember many times just sitting there going, why am I doing this? Is this ever going to come out? Am I ever going to work on this? Where did I go wrong? Well, I know where I went wrong, but how does that help me now? And just having those kind of situations. But the key was my relationships. And I noticed at the time, people put money in Bitcoin, they put money in real estate. You can't phone up your house and ask it a favor, but you can phone up your mate and go, shit's hit the fan. And there were times when I phoned up. I remember my kids were in private school. I couldn't afford to pay the school bill. Phoned up my mate, he put it on his credit card. 2 months later, I paid it off. So 2 months for me to pay for one kid's school fees for one payment. But I was in shit. But I had built up credibility and respect and a relationship that the person relied on me and said, yeah, I'll do it for you. I'll help you out. And they did. Wow. We've all been there, pal. And we should not hide from it. Never freaking hide from it. Wear it like a proud scar on your face. Yeah. You went through shit. You fell over. You were in a burning house where everything was against you. And that was the moment you decided, not today. Yeah. And you got up. You walked out there. It hurt. You stink of the burning embers. You're scarred. You're dirty. You're filthy. You look like shit. You got no money or a pot to piss in. But you're taller. I can make money. When I fall down now, it's a case of, oh, well, here we go. Time to get back up again.
Yeah. That's the difference, though, isn't it? That's the difference between people who win and people who hate and lose. It's because it's not the winners. It's not that they always win. It's that they keep getting up.
Every winner has failed more times than they've won.
Well, I think on that note, let's wrap things up. But before we do, where can people find you, Steve, and buy your book?
Well, there's a website called stevedsims.com. It's Steve D for dog, Sims, S-I-M-S, just one M. You can subscribe to my rants. In fact, you can actually download the PDF playbook on there for free. That's where you'll also get all the links to get Bluefish in the art of making things happen and put up with me like moaning and ranting with the people I do.
No, it's a great book, as I was saying before. In fact, I'm going to do something. I'm going to buy 5 books, and so whoever emails me, first 5, I'm going to send a book out of the Blue Fishing Playbook, The Art of Making Things Happen. Because, as I said before, if there's anything I can do, it's connect people to this book and to Steve.
Thanks, pal.
No worries, Steve. Well, we're going to keep in contact, mate, because I want to follow your moves and I want to see how you go with this podcast. If there's anything I can do to help.
Thanks, pal. I appreciate it. Thanks for backing me.
No worries. Thank you very much. You have a nice evening and make sure you get that whiskey.
I'm going to now. Thank you. I'll be drinking for you.
Thanks.
Cheers, buddy. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And that concludes the episode. Now, do you see why it was hard for me to set the introduction up? It's kind of difficult to categorize Steve or the episode. He doesn't really fit into a box. He breaks all the molds, right? And I personally took a lot from this episode. You could probably tell with how many pauses I had through it. I was jotting down notes every time he said something. And I forgot that we were recording most of the time. I just became involved with my own personal questions and queries that I had for him and his experience. So I hope by doing that, you were also able to learn a lot. And I think you would. I think most people would. So 2 last things. First 5 people who contact me will get a copy of his book. the Blue Fishing Playbook, all you need to do is go to the Scar Tissue Podcast website. That's scartissuepodcast.com. And go to the contact page and send me a message in reference to this episode. Just mention it in some way, and I'll shoot you over a copy. And the last thing is, if you like the episode, if you like the show, jump onto the Apple Podcast or however you listen to the podcasts and give us a 5-star review if you think it's worth it. Until next time, guys.